Welcome back, WNST, Tassel, Baltimore, and Baltimore Positive. I got the hat on. I've got the Super Bowl 35 logo here. We have had Coach Billick. We've had Marvin Lewis. We've had Goose, Jack Del Rio, Mike Flynn. I'm Edwin Molitalo. I'm chasing them all around. But I've also got time for friends of mine who may or may not have been at Whiskey Joe's 20 years ago. Today, yesterday, all weekend long. Bill, I should have gotten a cut on the bar. I mean, the truth is I didn't get any cut on the bar. But people started showing up there on Thursday night. I know you and your brother, back when you had more hair and clothes might have fit a little better and, all that. But 20 years ago, dude. And there's so many things I could talk about. First things first, I mean, Marty Bass and I are dear friends, and he emceed the thing, and we broadcast live on TV, and I'm still looking for the videotape. He says he might have it. But in the pictures that I have, there's me, there's Bobby Nick, my dear friend, the Hitman. We lost Hitman about 4 months ago. He died of cancer. Bobby Nick, who had two beautiful legs then. He lost leg. Then he died. Bobby died 5.5 years ago. Man. David Modell, my dude. David's still alive to me, right? My dude holding the trophy, coming down the walkway. He's gone. Dude, 20 years later, we're all here fist bumping. Rod Woodson's coming on and shouting out people. And it's really been an incredible ride, and how much football and this team and this franchise and the color purple has brought people like you into my life that have, altered my life in a different path and a better path. Some days, one day it'll be for the worse. When you and I go to Vegas again together, it'll probably be hell that I ever met you, Bill Cole. How are you, brother? Happy coffee to you. A little Rofo shout out to you, and happy 20th anniversary of Festivus Maximus.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I think those are some really fond memories and probably set us up for being spoiled and being disappointed forever, because with that defense, like, I used to sit in the stands probably once about half the season was over, right? Like, you had to get a little bit into it, but from about half on, if we scored one touchdown, the game was over.
Correct.
And we knew it. And we were
Troy
never
Aikman knew that too.
and we were never proven wrong. And that talk about sort of like a calming sense of excitement. All we needed was one touchdown. Like, if we got one touchdown, we're good. Like,
how did the Ravens come into your life? Because I'm really evaluating all this. First things first. I mean, this. I'm taking stuff off the walls at the radio station and just literally gifting it away, selling it away, bobbleheading it away. My wife's been clean for 5 years. I changed my life 6.5 years ago. Got all this stuff, and pictures on the wall that have been coming apart. I've been finding them, dude. These are the ones that were under wraps. Here's me and Scotty P at Lambeau Field, 1998. All of these pictures that were here I am at Candlestick Park for a playoff game that Billick was coaching and would become the Ravens coach the next year. So all these crazy things. Brett Favre coming to town with Ed Block, right? Got all these old pictures. And all of them are sticky from the back. If you see Norm Vikoski, if anybody, or excuse me, not Norm, his brother, Kurt Vikoski. If you see cousin, maybe. Kurt was picture perfect. Anybody sees Kurt, tell him I'm looking for him. Okay, Kurt Vikoski, tell him I'm looking for him. So I pulled everything down, and I started to look through all this stuff, right? And then Tony Jones died over the weekend. And literally, I was with him. These pictures I would show you from 1998 that were on the wall. Here's me and Brett Favre at the Super Bowl in San Diego. Tony Jones and I. There's a Baltimore connection. There's Vaughn Hebron. Remember Vaughn Hebron? Gibbons over there?
Sure,
right?
Sure.
Playing in the Super Bowl. So Tony Jones was playing for the Broncos that day. So that happened. I found this picture of David, literally Christmas week, at the bottom of a pile. I had never seen this picture. It's awkward because it's big. It didn't fit anywhere. So it kind of sat at the bottom of a pile of pictures that I had never seen. And I'm like, why is all this stuff coming back? And then it's the 20th anniversary of all this. And then Larry King dies over the weekend. And, the first thing I thought is, honey, you took a picture with Larry King at Dodger Stadium a few years ago. I know. We saw Larry. Larry came over. We had Korean short ribs. I love your cousin. Your cousin was a great ball player. And so Larry always liked me, and Larry would come on the show. And then I realized Larry King wrote about me, and he wrote about my book 20 years ago. And I find this clip, and I put it up. And I didn't even read it, Billy. I put it up. I just took a picture of it. I'm like, Larry King wrote about it. I put it up. And then the next day, I'm having coffee, and I'm like, Larry King wrote about Purple Rain. It's the 20th anniversary this week of Purple Rain. He called it a good read. Larry King called my book a good read. How did I not sell more books? And I realized
was he on drugs?
I
What's wrong with
realized
that
12
guy?
years later that everybody's illiterate other than you Calvert Hall types. So, dude, it's kind of all come back. I grabbed the jersey, and then I started going through my phone, and I started thinking about OJ, and James Trapp and I went back and forth, and Woodson, and the next thing you know, I'm having half the team on this week. So give me your Raven story, because it's
really
crazy,
long.
right? Like,
yeah, we don't have enough time. That's the pleasure of
your
it.
parents,
Right?
Colts people, right?
Yeah, my dad and grandfather were Colts.
But you never went to a Colts game.
I'm gonna say no.
What year were you born?
78. It would have been
you'd
really
probably go to
hard.
Colts
Yeah,
game,
it would have been really hard. But I mean, I know who Burt Jones is.
I found
right?
my first program when my dad took me to the Jets game in '73.
I grew up with a Burt Jones football in my room. That was.
You were born in '78. What day were you born in '70? I want to find out, because when Burt separated his shoulder in August of '78, it was the end of the Colts, right? And I actually had Bubba Baker on my show who did it. And I have a video of Bubba Baker at a charity event looking into my camera and said, I meant to hurt him. I wanted to hurt him. I tried to hurt him. And I'm like, dude, when his shoulder hit the turf at the Silverdome, there's the end of the franchise.
Right.
When were you born? What month?
April.
So you were alive when Burt Jones, you were alive during the Bill Troop era, kind of era.
So 96, right? We were fortunate enough to get tickets, and we started going to Memorial Stadium, and me, my brother, my dad, and we did that, every time. I mean, I have all
day one. You were at the Raiders game.
Yeah, I got all the tickets, right? At one point I framed them all into the same process you're going through. After they've been moved 3 times or whatever, they kind of just sit in a pile of framed things that don't go on the wall anymore.
Yeah, I'm trying to find my dumb Trumpy picture. I got it. It's back here. It fell off. So
in 2000, we got in the truck and drove to Tennessee.
Were you at my party?
I don't think we ever. I don't know.
Old Hooters on the water. No.
I don't know if we hooked up in Tennessee.
John Ogden came by that night. It was crazy.
We were amateur road trippers at that point, right? So we left Baltimore, ended up getting to Nashville at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Red Roof Inn,
which was
30 miles out of town, right?
Yeah. No, we had a place in town, but
I wanted to hear you slept in the trunk. I mean, that's what I wanted to hear.
Well, we did for 3.5 hours till the hotel would let us come in, because we poorly played it, and we just drove, straight through.
You were not on the nasty road trip, is what you're telling me.
Yeah, no, we didn't have any idea what the hell we were doing. So then the next week we're like, all right,
Oakland. So you threw a party, right?
There's no way we're going to Oakland like that. That's just, but it's okay. We're gearing up. We're going.
By the way, you want to listen to the Ed Mulatalo segment, because when I had Rasig on, and Mike Rasigliano, my artist friend who drew the Hall of Fame thing and all that, he's drawn everything, right? He went to the Oakland game, and it's so out of character for Rasig, because there were literally 100 Ravens fans in Oakland. I was with Dave Rather. Yeah. And I was in a skybox, and when Matt Stover missed that kick, little boy, 8 years old, giving me double middle fingers through the glass. They're beating on the glass. The glass shattered. You should ask Rather. If anybody sees Rather at Mother's, ask him about the Oakland game. But Rasig went to the black hole and literally sat in the bowl. Now I was in the press area early, and then I went into this skybox. I was wearing black head to toe, all black Raven stuff. But Rasig went, and Rasig sat with Mulatalo's family. And all the big brothers of Mulatalo protected Rasig up in Mount Davis in the black hole. So, that day was a hell of a day, dude. That was a day there.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the other part when Goose lands on Gannon, you're like, okay, we got this. We're good. Moving on.
You know what's really cool is like in the modern era, I can do like show and tell, like, and I have pictures from all of this stuff, and it's also like, is it close to you or is it far away when you see something from that
Uh,
era? Is it?
it's, I mean, I think it's super vivid. So whatever it was about that time frame, yeah, like it's all super vivid. Um, I was looking at the comments. People are so strange.
Oh yeah, I didn't even look at that, but yeah, I.
Um, so the Super Bowl week, we pack back in the truck and we drive to Tampa, and we got a friend in Tampa who's it got really strange. And but we have a friend whose friend is going to move out of her house, live with her neighbor, so that we can all live in our house, which is weird, but whatever, I mean, it's crazy.
I've done worse than Dewey.
I got some roofing buddies, like that's just you got to understand the world of roofing guys.
Dude, a couch is a couch.
Right.
How old were you? So, you were born in 78, so you were like 22. Okay.
Is that right?
Yeah, that tells me a lot about. I always ask what year you were born. I just ask that question because it really tells me where you are in life.
All right, 22. That would be fair because my brother's like 3 years younger than me.
So you were barely old enough to drink, let alone get into Whiskey Joe's. If the Ravens would have gone to Super Bowl '96, you couldn't have gotten the bar.
Right. So we drive to Tampa straight through once again. Amateur.
Did you pee it south of the border or anything?
Amateur road trip. I had some kind of, it wasn't the COVID because we didn't have the COVID yet, but I had some kind of flu. I made it about as far as Richmond and then had to dive in the back seat, and my other buddies started driving from there, and I slept for like till we hit the Florida line, and then I got back. But
I did it on the way home from Daytona, but it's because I got hammered in Daytona. So that,
well, I mean, it could have been me still recovering from.
What's crazy is I've done that. I've had a couple of buddy trips when I was 22, 3 when I first went on the radio. I drove to Detroit and Toronto with a bunch of buddies. We drove to Boston for a Red Sox series. I drove to spring training. I drove to Tampa with 3 buddies. I mean, so. We stopped in Atlanta for a March Madness game and flopped on my cousin's couch. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, that's what we did. My buddy Russ Lettra and I, who actually went to a hockey game in Phoenix last night, by the way, weird. We drove to Chicago in the summer of 1989 and stopped at ballparks. I've done that thing. It's the greatest thing in the world when you're 22, man. And you're going to the Super Bowl – and you're in a friend of a friend's flop house to a roofing company in Tampa. See, this is what dreams are made of. This is what a Super Bowl memory 20 years ago is supposed to be.
No doubt. Look, the painful part of the memory is, again, we arrive like 8 hours early from when we're supposed to be.
But you arrived Thursday or like Sunday? Did you just?
No, it was like Friday.
Oh, you had some fun. You were there for Gasparilla.
Yeah.
Did you do all that? Okay,
all
right.
Yeah. Ybor City was a good time.
I never made it to Ybor. See, like all of that stuff didn't happen for me because I was running a radio station. I was doing a nationally syndicated show for 4 hours, and they sent me to a golf course on Thursday, and it was terrible. I remember Warren Sapp was there, and he was a dick. And I remember, Jim Kelly sat on the set with me, and Steve Tasker and David Copperfield and JY from Styx and Kurt Warner stopped by Phil Simms is sitting next to me. He was doing the game. So I'm doing all this stuff. I was worn out. When I tell the story of the parade, I was sick as a dog. Like when I landed back I partied all night. I flew to Philadelphia with Matt Millen, the late, great Matt Millen and Brian Baldinger on the flight with me. I did national radio. I came back home, slept, and then I went. Tuesday was like the parade, and we were going to do the barn show. Oh, my God, it was the craziest. And I didn't drive 20 hours. You know what I mean? Like, my wife did that for New Orleans, running the buses. But, man, the experience of doing this is so different for everybody. But the Whiskey Joe's thing, I think most people that were from Baltimore wound up at Whiskey Joe's at one point or another,
No,
right?
no
Like
doubt. I mean, the stories that I hold most dear, besides the painful ones, where we pull into Tampa and then we have to sit in the parking lot of this restaurant for 8 hours after driving for 13.
with the flu.
Right, waiting to catch up with this lady so she could give us the keys to her house. So that was totally crazy.
You do
But it
realize
was
there was a beach you could have gone and slept on, right?
well, but it was cool because like friends of ours had flew in and were driving over from Orlando. So, 3 hours in, they show up, and then 2 hours later, other friends show up. And so,
I was there a week and a half and I never went across the causeway. You know what I mean? Like everything I did was a shuttle bus, a Ravens, a radio. I didn't have like a bus trip. All we did was throw the party. So
I remember being in Ybor City and my father coming and yanking my brother out of the bar because we had gotten him into one of the bars and he was tuned up good, and my father coming in and taking him back to the place.
cigars everywhere
and,
in Ybor City.
and then I remember probably different night, but we did one of those like, I don't know, parties that you could buy the tickets for or whatever, the NFL parties, or I don't know.
Oh, okay. All right.
We're hanging out, like, here's Drew Brees, like, on the steps, walking opposite us. It's like, oh, there's Drew Brees. That's cool. And that was before he was, godly. But my brother growing up was a Florida State fan. And I think it was Chris Wanke. It had to be Chris Wanke, was at the party.
He was 27 then.
Yeah,
and still in college.
And my brother goes up to him.
I know far too much about sports.
He's like, man, great game against Alabama or Oklahoma or whatever it was. And it was totally wrong. And the guy just looks at him like, what in the hell are you talking about?
Thanks, man.
Right. There's good stuff like that, like just fun stories.
I ran into Tommy Shaw from Styx in the lobby of my hotel. And if you remember that night, that was the night Maryland pissed the game away against Duke. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
That Saturday night?
Sure.
I was a taste of the NFL, and I did Nancy Longo. I want to give a great shout out. Go support Nancy. Buy a box of food over at Pier Point. Nancy's been a friend of mine forever. Anybody who knows Nancy knows what a crazy Raven fan she is. Nancy's been cooking a taste of the NFL from the very beginning, every year. And this is a fun old school story, right? So 96, we get in the league. I went to the party in 95 in Phoenix because my buddy Scotty P had tickets, and it's what, he big birded it when he went to the Super Bowl back in the day. And so we went to this beautiful event. Miss America's there every year, and I've gotten to know them very well. Wayne Kostrowski made me these beautiful cookies in Minnesota. He's a Minnesota guy. He's a chef. They've raised hundreds of millions of dollars for feeding America through Coca-Cola and a bunch of sponsors. So every year it's a beautiful, incredible event. And part of the event is they bring a chef in from every city. They have a table and they make food. And there's a celebrity. Here's the rub, dude. You ready for this? We were such a new franchise, we didn't have any players. We didn't have any alumni. So in 1996, 97, 98, I think they had an active player do it. I think oh man, you're gonna shoot me because I can't remember the name of the guy, and I see his
Ernest
face.
Biner?
Hold on,
Ernest Biner
tight end, white guy, played in Minnesota, 96, 97. Maybe Ivy League educated, really good guy. Played in Carolina later. He wasn't it wasn't the guy that was the long snapper, not Kinchin. It might have been Kinchin, but it was another guy. Greg, I'm trying to think of his name. Anyway, a couple of those guys I can't remember their names, right? And I'm a Ravens guy. Did the event. And finally, she got Ernest Biner to do it. And the Ravens, Kevin Byrne got Ernest Biner to do it. So Ernest Biner's going to do it, and that's great for old Browns fans. And the Browns weren't in the league then, right? And so, or they had just gotten back in. They were a year into it or whatever. But Ernest was the guy. And here's the problem. Ernest was on the coaching staff. So their actual celebrity, they had no celebrity. And they're in Tampa, and they're calling me to scramble. And I'm like, I don't know, Eric Green lives here. Maybe he'll come over, And they're like, dude, you do it. You do it. And I'm like, I'm not – every other table, there's like Hall of Famers over there. There's like, Ken Houston's over at the Oilers table and Chris Hamburger's over at the Redskins table. And they're Hall of Famers, right? everywhere in the room. I'm like, I'm not going to represent the Ravens. So me and Marty Bass represented the Ravens. That's how low it had sunk. And Marty and I stood at the table all night eating crab cakes, and it was all Ravens fans. We got pictures with helmets and fun. I think J.O. had signed the helmet, or Ray or somebody. Maybe Ernest had signed. I don't know. But Ernest was the biggest star in the franchise at the time, right? Well, maybe Woodson or Sharp at that point. But thinking back to 20 years ago this week and where every person was, right? Like everybody's got a story of wherever, whatever. My mother was alive then. My mother called me when I was leaving the stadium crying and telling me girls were naked on Pratt Street. And that's all I remember about the phone call. My mother's like, there's girls on TV, don't have their tops on. I'm like, oh, thanks, Mom. Welcome to Baltimore, all class,
I always you can't be in two places at once. Like, I wanted to be there,
but you wanted to be here.
But I wanted to be home. Yeah,
Marty Bass said that to me when I was on stage with Marty.
And all that.
Marty said, I'm flying back, and I'm watching he watched the game like La Fontaine Rouge or something, like literally. He's like, I'm flying back because I need to be in, the story moves to Baltimore, because he's thinking like a news guy, and I'm like, no, I don't know about you, dude. I'm going to be at Whiskey Joe's. Were you at Whiskey Joe's when they ran out of beer after the game?
Oh, yeah. No, I don't know if we made it after the game. They ran out of beer before the game. Like, that's the other story I got. I got pictures of my one buddy they were selling buckets of beer, and you'd get like, I don't know, 6 beers in a bucket or 10 beers in a bucket or whatever. He got hammered. He got this guy for 2 days.
Well, of course he did.
But for 2 days, he didn't do anything, right? He was kind of a lump, right? Before the Super Bowl, he puts the bucket on his head, and he proceeds to watch the entire Super Bowl game in the stands with the bucket from Whiskey Joe's on his head. It was phenomenal.
I hope he got the tickets at face value. I hope he didn't have to overpay for those if you never remember. Dude, I'm going through these pictures here.
We overpaid for everything that year.
I'm literally showing, all this stuff that was going on. People are putting pictures up now. They're scunny. Oh, my God. Look at that. They're scunny. Yeah. Wow, right? I mean, sure. Legendary picture. I see people I know in these pictures. But somebody actually put up, you made me drink Zima that night.
Yeah, sure.
Bill Cole is here from Cole Roofing and Gordian Energy. We're geezing and wheezing and telling stories of tales of yore, as they would say. I guess for all of this and where it is with Lamar, Tom Brady's in the Super Bowl next week, right? Like, so from a football perspective, Brady and Mahomes, and then you say, all right, it's not for us this year. We wouldn't be having any fun anyway, so I'm sort of okay with it, to be really honest. I think we went through that last week because we can't have all this fun with it. What's the point? But, I think we're wondering, is there going to be a point? Are we going to go to L.A. next year? Are we going to go to are we going to have another one of these rides at some point? Because we're going to watch Kansas City, and we're going to watch the Bucs in their home stadium, no less, place we did a good job in one time 20 years ago today. I want another one. The more I think about the pictures and the fun and bring people on, think about Joe Flacco and think about all that and what it represents and what they're trying to do out there, it's worth it. It's a good time when it happens, man.
I would like to do one. I don't think I want to do Minnesota or Detroit or any, like, I don't think I want to do Indy. I don't think I want to do those.
The Indy was a really good one. It was the best Super Bowl ever.
Yeah,
it was great, man. The weather was great. The town was on fire. It was real. I don't have a lot of regrets.
Yeah,
but that was like one of those ones. It would have changed my life because of what I did for a living and how we had trips and all that. But it would have been so juicy if we would have won. And if Billy Cundiff, Lee Evans, all that, because I'm telling you, I wrote a blog that week. Go Google it. And it had a couple million hits in Indiana because the Indiana people shared the Baltimore guy enjoyed the Indianapolis. That was a great Super Bowl, dude. Don't bag on the Indy Super Bowl. The weather was good.
No, I'm just saying if I'm going to go, right, like for us.
You want to play golf. Yeah.
Yeah, probably now I would because I can't do what I used to do when I was 25 or whatever. Yeah, sure. It's definitely a fun ride. And to your point, yeah, they can have this one because if you can't have all that other stuff, what's the point? I mean, you can't, to Brady, like if people need any more confirmation that in order to be the GOAT, you have to be lucky and things have to go well for you. Like you can't just be the GOAT despite everyone else. Like how you kick the field goal, and I don't know how many times we talk about this, but like that's almost like packing it in for him. And I just thought that was really weird and a terrible call. And of course the GOAT would have that happen, right? Like of course the other team's coach would make a questionable blunder so that Tom Brady could go back to another Super Bowl.
I think for anybody who's ever achieved anything, you're always looking for the next thing, right? Like, so I would talk about Whiskey Joe's or the parade, and I'm thinking, if we go to another Super Bowl, what am I going to do to be bigger than that parade? You know what I mean? And for Tom Brady, I don't know how you pick those rungs to say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to go there. Never won an NFC championship game. Nobody's ever won a Super Bowl in their home stadium. He's put them in it. He picked the sunshine. He picked the weather. He picked the coach. He knew about the coach because Arians had worked with Manning and other people. And then, like, watching them play the last couple of weeks, I'm thinking to myself, they imported Gronkowski. They imported Antonio Brown. They imported Ndamukong Suh. They have this mishmash of personalities and all of this stuff. And, you know, I think Arians is a little bit of a whisperer, you know, as a coach. I'm a big fan of his. I've had good interactions with him. I don't know him well. I know a lot of people that know him, but I dig his style. He would be the kind of guy I'd want to go play with or for, maybe more so than some other coaches I know, you know, just on a personality basis. And for Tom Brady at 43 to be doing this, it's sort of unspeakable in its own way. And I don't know, you know, steroids be damned. And we had the Barry Bonds conversation come up and Kurt Schilling this week and Hank Aaron last week dying and what is a record and what is incredible. And it stands out so secretariat-ishly that it's not even a conversation anymore. Now it's more about the dazzle of can he win it in another place, in another conference, in another time zone, in another decade against the best of the now. All of that's sitting there. He's not going to beat Josh Allen or Trent Dilfer or Tony Eason or whatever the hell that guy's name. You know, this is the best of the best. He's going to have to go beat the best team.
I definitely think that enhances this story, right? Like you may not be able to see this story 20 years from now when you're debating who the greatest quarterback was.
He's beating a guy who's already a champion.
He is going.
Not Jared Goff.
Right.
Yeah.
If he wins, unquestionably, he is beating a better team, right? He is overcoming odds that they should not win. So.
What's that song? Better now than he's ever been.
Yeah, I think
smarter now. I went through that with Marvin Lewis the other day, by the way.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't undersell the fact that the state of Florida has advantageous tax laws, because I do believe that when you look at professional sports, that eventually can be the thing that pushes them over the edge.
I don't think it helped the Tampa Rays.
Yeah, I don't know whether it does or it doesn't.
No. I mean, you're not the only one to bring that up. I mean,
if it doesn't help you, right? If it doesn't help you, you're just not doing this right. I mean, you should either be able to show them how their family's wealth is greater because of it, or you should be able to show them how you can pay them less, structure your cap better, because they get to keep more of their money.
Okay, so I want you to go listen to the Mike Smith piece, because Mike coached in Jacksonville, Mike coached in Tampa, Mike just left Tampa, Mike coached half of these guys.
Yeah.
And he talked about this a little bit, but he also said right away, he's like, there's a lot of distractions in Florida too.
No doubt.
Like you don't have in Green Bay.
Sure, no doubt. Know? It doesn't mean, I guess it doesn't mean you're necessarily going to win, but I don't know how the NFL, and maybe they do, right? Because I don't know. I don't pay enough attention, but like, that's an advantage that should bear fruit to be able to sign.
And it crushes the Canadian
players.
hockey teams in the same way. When the dollar's weird. Not now, but when the dollar's weird.
Sure.
Billy Cole is here. He is Cole Roofing and Gordian Energy. He will get on your roof. He will check your solar, check your commercial roof space, procurement officers, people that have had goofs on their roofs Tell them what you do, Billy, because other than just running around and telling old Raven stories with me from time to time.
Yeah, no, I mean, commercial roofing, everything from a leak to, I say that every time now, just
It makes me laugh.
enjoy that. Yeah, leak up to.
I've already had Scunny in the segment, so there, it's all coming back.
Right, a roof replacement, commercial properties. I think the interesting story we're telling now is like, set the politics aside because what's in the past is in the past. But the number of times that you hear the word solar or renewable energy or climate change or whatever this administration is going to do, you're doing yourself a disservice to not have at least understood how it works, right? And what the economics of buying solar actually
if you're going to own
looks
your
like.
place or home or land
Yeah, I mean,
for the
almost
next
anything.
5, 10, 20 years, right?
If you're consuming electricity, is it really considered responsible to just put our head in the sand and keep ignoring it? Like, and I'm not saying everybody's doing that, but some of us just like, we got enough problems to deal with, right?
You've been paying that bill for you're used to paying BG. Yeah.
Well, I always make the statement. What's the old one? Live, breathe, die, and pay, or live, die, and pay taxes and pay BG&E. Like,
right.
those are the things that you've always done, and it's different. And it's easy for us to kind of just show you the economics.
Well, if the sun doesn't come up tomorrow, we're all screwed. I know that much, right?
Definitely.
Bill Cole joins me every week. You can find him out on the front of BaltimorePositive.com. At some point, I may embarrass him and put his picture, him and his brother, up from Whiskey Joe's.
It's not embarrassing for me. We just need to get my brother's approval. He's the one that looks like a bigger goof in that than me.
If he's under 18, I'd have to ask for permission, I guess. So maybe he was at that point. Billy, take care of yourself. Stay safe here this week. I know the COVID thing's been near and dear to you and me and everybody else. Stay safe out there. We'll get up on Super Bowl next week. And as we get into February, I'm going to start tackling, things like the impeachment trial and, people denying fair trials in America. But I'll save that for later on because we're all peaceful here, and I'm wearing my Super Bowl 35 logo, right?
Right. Appreciate you, brother.
You got it, man. Nasty at WNST.net finds me. You can usually find my Royal Farms coffee inside the Cole Roofing mug here each and every morning. As I believe it or not, I go half and half. I can't go full caffeine. Not at my age. You guys know that. Find me out on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and Snapchat. Anywhere. We are talking intelligently about the Purple Rain era from 20 years ago here the next couple days at least to bask in the purple afterglow of all things Tampa in 2001 at Baltimore Positive.